Well, I guess this Open takes on a whole new meaning since we'll start off talking about the NBA. But it's really not about the NBA. It is about sports in general. Of course, we don't have the NBA here in Kansas City. But I know there are many in this audience who have placed a sports bet or two or 100. There are those on this show who happen to be parlay aficionados. Mark, hello, good morning. You have not been arrested yet, have you?
Not yet.
Okay, all right, good. I like hearing that. What this was really about when yesterday the FBI busted NBA head coach Chauncey Billups and a couple of players and coaches, including Terry Rozier and Damon Jones. What I am most intrigued by right now with this FBI gambling scandal that is unloaded on the NBA is what the NBA knew and when they knew it and whether or not they tried to cover the whole thing up. ESPN reporter Brian Windhorst yesterday said something that I thought got massively overlooked across news and sports media. And it was that the NBA had an idea as to what this player, Terry Rozier, who got arrested yesterday, was doing when it came to sports betting and specifically prop bets about himself.
Absolutely right, Rich. The NBA at some point is going to have to explain why Terry Rozier was allowed to keep playing. And I just want to point something out. Mm-hmm. The sports books caught the irregular betting on Terry Rozier the day it happened, the morning it happened, when all of a sudden there was hundreds of thousands of dollars coming in on Terry Rozier unders for a relatively meaningless game in March, mm-hmm. involving the Charlotte Hornets. The sports books caught it. They told the NBA right away. And guess what? The NBA, Rozier didn't play the rest of the season. And he had faked the injury, so it wasn't because of the injury. The NBA pulled him. They pulled Jonte Porter, too. They flagged Jonte Porter and pulled Jonte Porter. The NBA's measures, mm-hmm. their protection measures, the sportsbook's protection measures, triggered this. They caught it.
Uh-huh. The NBA had guys rigging games and rigging prop bets. They caught it, and they did nothing about it, at least not publicly. Do you realize that for a league that has long been questioned, of all the major professional sports leagues, I know people are like, the refs are rigging the game for the Chiefs. The NFL's rigging it for the Chiefs. I know we've heard that kind of stupidity, but no league has been more caught up with gambling drama and with allegations of conspiracy and rigging than the NBA. And it goes back decades. And now it's back. Except now, the conspiracy theorists appear to be right, at least to some extent. And this is awful for the NBA. And by the way, it will be bad for the other sports leagues as well. It will be bad for Major League Baseball, which had this gambling issue with their big star Shohei Ohtani, who's about to play in the World Series. What was that investigation into Shohei Ohtani? A day and a half? Interesting. The FBI was investigating these guys in the NBA for the last 3-4 years. MLB, 36 hours. No, nothing to see here. We're good. Really. The NFL. Much harder in the NFL, but still possible when you talk about player prop bets. This is destructive for the sports gambling industry. This is going to have a major impact on how sports betting is done, not just in the short term, but the long term. Everything will change coming out of this FBI investigation. And it's not just about the NBA, which we don't have in Kansas City, of course. It is about the entire climate. And the number one thing I would do right now, if these sports books want to get ahead of this stuff, you have to take college off the table. If professional athletes like Terry Rozier making $25 million this year, think about that, $25 million. And he's splitting $200,000 with his buddies after a game because they all bet the under, and he took himself out of a game with a few minutes left, I guess, or a few minutes into the game, so he wouldn't reach his point totals and whatever else the bets were for that night. That's an easy way to play the under. If you want to rig a sports bet These player prop bets that are done where it's like, hey, will Patrick Mahomes throw for over 250 yards? Those things that Mark has in his parlays every week. An easy way to rig that is to bet the under on yourself or a teammate or whoever, right? Because you can control how many points you score. It's hard to hit the over. You got to work for it. But the under, oh, man, my hamstring's killing me. The over-under is 10.5 points for me tonight. I'm 3-4 points in, and gosh, my hammy's killing me. I think I have to sit this one out, Coach. Okay, under hits. Ding, ding, ding. Ka-ching. That's what you've got going on here with this Terry Rozier situation. And if Terry Rozier and NBA guys can get caught up in this, I mean, Chauncey Billups, this situation is more of a poker scheme involving the mafia, allegedly, which is a whole nother sideshow. But you got players making $25 million doing this stuff. God forbid, what are college kids going to get enticed to do? How deep could that web go? And I know, a lot of people watch college football. They'll be watching tomorrow, and they'll be looking to place a bet or two in a game. At the very least, take the player props off the table for college. I would do that immediately. But, Mark, you think something else is coming as well, maybe at the professional level, too. What do you see happening here?
Yeah, I think the way that they can clean this up pretty easily and quickly is take off the unders. Because, like you said, you can't really fix the overs because you're going to have a great game if you're going to do the over. But you can definitely fix that under.
Yeah, that may be coming. Do you think that would come in every major professional sport? Just get rid of unders?
I think that's possible. That's on the table.
Wow.
I do know this. In the state of Iowa, they already have no player props for college games. So I think they can just do that across the board.
I would do that immediately because my immediate reaction to this was the college kids. Think about what kind of pressure they may be under. You go to a college campus, I've got to imagine the majority, especially of college men, are placing a sports wager or two. And they want to bet their team. They know these players. They see them in the classroom. Now, the players aren't doing anything in the classroom, but they're in the classroom. Like, they know these guys. You're telling me that there are not major college football and college basketball stars who have been enticed by their own classmates or people on campus to try to help them with a player prop? I'm not suggesting that the FBI investigation is going there, but it is a mess. And that's the first step. No player props, like apparently they do up in Iowa at the college level. And at the pro level, you get rid of the under at the very least. But if you want to get rid of all player props, now it'll cost these sports books a fortune if you do that. But if you want to go back to the old days of just, hey, here's a line, here's a spread on the game, pick which side, you can still potentially manipulate that. I mean, we've seen that going back to the, Chicago White Sox, going back 100-plus years ago now. Shoeless Joe Jackson. You've seen this in sports for a very long time. But it's just too easy right now. And if guys making tens of millions of dollars a year, not over their career, a year, are getting drawn into this, then you've got a problem. And you've got to fix it as soon as possible. 913-408-7957. That's the text line. And the studio line. Brought to you by... No, there's no sports book on this show.
I will add this, though. On DraftKings, at least in Kansas, you can't do unders on college players.
Oh, you can't?
Yeah, you can only do point totals. So
only point totals. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you would know, Mark, as our betting aficionado here on the show. You would have the answer to that. You're right.
Jalen Daniels, 200 yards passing tomorrow.
Oh, is that the number? You like that number? With all the rain that's coming tomorrower?
Think so.
Really? All right. See. I don't like that number against K-State tomorrow. Now we're talking player props. This is not where you... Mark, oops, you are not supposed to take this conversation in this direction.
I know. No unders, though. No unders.
Stop. No, we don't bet the under. Life's too short to bet the under, okay? Knock it off in there. Stop. Jeez. Coming up, speaking of over-unders, what's the over-under on this new ballroom? What's that going to cost to the White House? All right? The president continues to play defense on this thing. And we'll give you the latest on it coming up on KCMO Talk Radio. I am getting such a kick out of this East ballroom, White House drama, I actually find it hysterical that we're all supposed to be up in arms about this ballroom that Trump is building along the east wing of the White House, as if it's like our own bathroom renovation or something like that. As if we're getting ticked off at our contractor who's jacked up the price 20% on us, and we can't use our own toilet for the next 3 months because he stalled out the project. Like, we all realize that this is not a place that 99.9% of us are ever going to be, just to be clear. I'm including myself in this. I mean, I'm with you guys here. If I end up in the White House one day, I mean, that would be great, but it's not on my short list. Never mind going to the ballroom. I mean, I'd have to figure out something to wear. I might have to borrow something from John if that comes.
Yeah, right. I'm going to hit my dry cleaner up.
Yeah. So
see what I've got on layaway back there.
It's not on my short list. But we are now supposed to be all outraged by the fact that Trump is privately funding a 90,000 square foot ballroom. And he's damned if he does, he's damned if he doesn't, right? So he's doing this ballroom. Now, presidents going back 100 years have made changes to the White House. Obama, I mean, you go back, FDR, you can go all the way back 100 years and find different changes that were made by presidents across the board, both sides of the political aisle. So first it's like, well, you know, Trump's doing this privately, but all these people that are going to be funding this ballroom, they're all buying favors. They're buying Trump off. You've heard that the last few days. And then it's like, well, okay, if it was taxpayer money, you'd be more upset, understandably so. So which one is it? Do you want that to be funded by the taxpayer, or do you want it to be funded privately? And then yesterday, since they realized it sounds pretty ridiculous to make the argument, they're like, oh, yeah, well, what's Trump putting in? What is the president of the United States, who already isn't drawing a salary, what is he putting in? They tried to do that kind of gotcha journalism yesterday with the president of the United States. And that, just like all this other stuff, is comical to me. Here's what he said.
Have you raised the full $300 million needed to fund your ballroom? And how much specifically are you donating to this construction
raised,
project?
I think, $350 million. All donor money and money that we put up. We've raised, it's going to cost right in the neighborhood of $300 million. It's been expanded and made absolutely, it'll be the most beautiful ballroom anywhere in the world, I think.
And how much specifically are you donating to it personally?
How much am I donating? I won't be able to tell you until I finish, but I'll donate whatever's needed, I'll tell you that.
So let's go through this story arc together. First, it's, oh my goodness, the president's building a ballroom. How dare he use the people's money for that? Then it's, well, no, it's privately funded, but all these people must be buying influence with Trump. Now it's, well, how much are you giving, Mr. President? How about the guy's almost given his life? I mean, is that enough for you? The guy had his ear blown off last year. Is that enough for that guy to give to the country at this point in time? I mean, my goodness, I'm not saying the man is perfect. He's certainly not the second coming. He's a darn good president for the most part, in my opinion. Sometimes he gets out over his skis. I guess we all do. But he's building the ballroom. Democrats are going to take advantage of this down the road. They'll use it. Republicans, obviously. It's not like it's only going to be for future Republican presidents. When there is one day, inevitably, a Democrat back in the White House, they will utilize that ballroom. I promise you, they will. This is the most ridiculous, fake controversy I've seen in a very long time. And even by their TDS standards, I can't believe this is the story they're trying to turn into a 24/7 news cycle, John.
Oh, he could have just, let's see, what sort of, trolled them big time by putting this whole thing on This Old House on PBS with the whole renovation going on. Steve Carpenter, maybe get Norm from the new Yankee Workshop in there to renovate stuff.
Oh, that would have been great. You know, he could have brought in Joanna Gaines, the Magnolia couple, Chip and Joe. He could have had them come in. Or they can come in on the back end. They can, make the place look nice, and they can decorate it and things like that. Although Chip Gaines, taking a sledgehammer to the side of the East Wing, that would be quite a scene.
Do we have a calendar on the update remodel? Is that running parallel to the shutdown, which they're not talking about because they can figure out no way to defend their side?
I agree with you. I think a lot of this is covering up for the fact that they know their preferred political party is looking worse with every passing day of the shutdown, which now has hit day 24.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got nothing right now.
Oh, they even went to this morning. I think they played on Red Eye right after that. The reporters say, well, so Trump can just tear down anything? Now they're making it even bigger. And it's like, no, not anything.
Coming from the folks who love the tear down of every statue on every street corner.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what Josh Hawley, Missouri U.S. Senator, said to a CNN reporter yesterday when he was asked about this.
What about just uprooting this is an iconic building?
Mono, I will just say this. I made this point yesterday, that I hear all of a sudden from my liberal friends that they're very concerned about our history. Really, these are the same people who tore down every statue they could get their hands on in the last 4 years. Christopher Columbus, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt. They didn't have any concern for history then. Now all of a sudden, like, the facade of the East Wing is iconic. Oh, give me a break. Give me a break.
Now, who are some of the companies? Here's the thing. The president is being transparent. They've rolled out the list of companies who are helping fund this East Wing ballroom. I mean, this is literally transparency. Instead of politicians doing things and being on the take for their donor class and hiding those donations through PACs and things of that nature, here's the president rolling out the list. And just some of the companies: Amazon, Apple, Caterpillar, Coinbase. Oh, my goodness. Comcast, which, of course, owns NBC News. Where's Rachel Maddow? Is she going to quit on the spot when she finds out her employer is donating to this ballroom, John? Oh, man.
I love that. Where's the list for the donors? Where's the list? Here you go. Oh, well, that's not the list we want to see. You know what list we want to see.
They're all on the take.
Yeah, the list.
Google, Hard Rock International, Lockheed Martin, Meta, Microsoft, NextEra Energy, Ripple, T-Mobile, Reynolds American. Just some of the companies that are donating, and then there are individuals as well on this list. Winklevoss twins, they were involved in Meta early on, formerly Facebook. So there's a lot of different people who are donating to this. And it is the fakest nothing of a controversy that impacts 0.1% of Americans that I've ever seen them try to blow up into something larger. See, this is why local television news is valuable, but also not actually news. It more becomes propaganda and cheerleading for local cities and officials and businesses. And I'm all about rah-rah Kansas City. I'm all about rah-rah the local business. We live in a great community. We have an incredible metro led by, people that have good days and bad days. But I'll just put it this way. The people are better than the politicians across the board. They always are, especially here around Kansas City. But as I'm watching local news last night, and I'm seeing how it's getting covered here, that we've got this streetcar extension that is opening up this morning. There will be a big ribbon cutting coming up this morning. They'll do their whole, dog and pony show. The streetcar is now going to go from Crown Center down to UMKC. And Mario Vasquez, who is the Kansas City city manager, is going to be on the show for our Feature Friday segment at 9 o'clock. So we look forward to talking to him about this and much more. It's fair to at least look at this and say, okay, we spent $350 million on this streetcar extension. About $100 million a mile. The streetcar is going to be free. There's very little evidence it is going to dramatically change things for that corridor of Kansas City. It will look cool. It will be pretty. There will be good publicity that comes out of it. But the question becomes, was it all worth it? Were the shutdowns that happened along the new streetcar route that hurt businesses worth it? Was the price tag worth it? What are we expecting to see along this new streetcar route? What are we expecting ridership-wise? Who is going to be the ridership? Is it going to be college kids from UMKC just going down to Power and Light? Is that kind of the bread and butter of who they think is going to use this? And if so, does it mean that people are just shifting where they're spending money in Kansas City? Instead of spending it down by the plaza, maybe they're spending it downtown, which is really irrelevant. It doesn't mean more money's coming to Kansas City. It just means money's being shifted around Kansas City. So all of these things that we've talked about and we've questioned, apparently local television doesn't really want to do that. Instead, they want to do fluff pieces on the streetcar. And I just don't understand why you wouldn't want to dig a little deeper on some of this. Here's what it sounded like yesterday on Fox 4. They were talking to a local barber along the new streetcar line and other folks as well.
The walking of the people, the bus stops and everything, I just think it's going to be a great thing for Kansas City. I'm just going to try and take advantage of it.
Yesterday, we asked the Streetcar Authority what they'd say to business owners who had challenges during the construction.
And we truly are appreciative of all the businesses and residents that stuck through us for 3.5 years. And they're here and they're ready to celebrate with us. So if you go on our website, you'll see a listing of what all these businesses are going to be doing to celebrate.
So you got city officials saying, oh, this is going to be great. Everyone's going to be celebrating. Woo! Woo! This is awesome. And then you have, one business owner being like, I hope this brings a bunch of business to me and my barbershop. Okay, cool. And if it doesn't, will anybody do a follow-up? Bueller? No? Not going to happen? Okay. 3.5 miles, $350 million. Now, a lot of that money came from the feds. But for a country that's sitting $38 trillion in debt, I know this is chump change. But hey, if your household was sitting there right now at $38,000 in debt or $380,000 in debt, you wouldn't be like, what's the big deal? Let's go spend a weekend in Vegas for $3,800. You would think that was probably bad policy for your house. So why is it not also bad policy for Kansas City? And frankly, for the federal government? This should have never been approved by the feds, but we're here. It's open. And, it's not that I'm not looking forward to it. I don't anticipate myself riding it anytime soon. It's not going to be on my to-do list. I lived downtown. I rode the old streetcar. And I'll never forget out walking the streetcar to get home from the Big 12 tournament. I walked out of T-Mobile one night, must have been the 2019 Big 12 tournament. I go to the streetcar stop. It's a zoo. There's not one showing up. I say, I'll start walking. I'm going uphill. I'm walking north towards where I lived, 6th and Broadway. It's uphill, man. That's a good walk. You're going to get those quads burning.
Done that in a parade, you betcha.
Yeah, you're going to get those quads burning. And I get to my stop. It must be whatever it is, 6th and Main, 7th and Main, something like that. And as I am walking up to the streetcar stop before I get set to cross the street going west, there's the streetcar. I got my steps in, and it took me just as long. That is not mass transit. It hasn't ever been. And it never will be. So now we sit here and it's like, well, what's this going to mean for Kansas City? I don't know. A couple businesses might do okay. But you know what? A lot of them, I think, are going to be sitting there and saying, where's all the economic benefit for me? And who's going to tell their stories? We'll do it here on KCMO. But something tells me local TV, they'll do the puff pieces today. They'll be there for the ribbon cuttings and things like that. But when things don't meet expectations, and the cost of the streetcar obviously is going to be to the tune of millions of dollars to the city. And there's no benefit revenue-wise. They don't make any money, right? There's no ridership fee. So it's just a net loss is what it ends up being, John.
Yeah, and by the way, you businesses on the streetcar line, you need to maintain the front of your store out there so that it's clear. Right? Yeah. Just like the sidewalk in front of your house when it snows. Next thing you know, you'll be having some extra responsibilities for your benefit.
That's a good point. Mike in Kansas City. What's up, Mike?
Yeah, from the beginning, even when they had the first part of it, this has bothered the heck out of me. We have a lot of working lower middle class people. They live in Ruskin. They live in Sheffield. They live in East Kansas City, in wherever, Northeast. And they can't get transportation. The bus service is irregular. There's not enough buses. And we spend, $300 million on a toy train, basically an elitist, capricious product. It just bucks the heck out of me because this is an elitist toy. That's all it is. The real working people, the people who need transportation in this city, are not getting it. And, nobody cares, because Kansas City Star, the latte drinking people from the Kansas City Star, they're totally detached from what, working poor or local working middle class people have.
And you know what they tried to do?
It always bugs me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. And you know what they tried to do? They tried to say, okay, well, if the tourists and the wealthier folks downtown get a streetcar for free, we'll make your buses free. Well, what's happened? The buses have become less safe, more dangerous. That's what's happened. You got the homeless folks rolling up and down on the buses. That's what you have going on there. They tried to throw them a bone, and it backfired. On the text line, Pete, Woke 41 is flooding the zone this morning with streetcar coverage. A bunch of news reporters sitting around in the dark alone getting rained on. I kind of feel guilty about enjoying the coverage. Oh, gee. Oh, my gosh. There's one guy walking his dog outside the streetcar station. Gee, well, you got to walk the dog. I get that. Trust me, we've all been there. But I may have to pop on that coverage here in the studio. I normally wouldn't do that, but that texter has now twisted my arm to at least check it out.
Got you curious.
Yeah, he's got me very curious now during the next commercial break. I'll see what's going on there. Oh, my goodness. And that's why local TV, as much as there's still great value to it, it's also not taken seriously by so many viewers. And that's why the viewership continues to dwindle. Like, we're doing great here. You look at some of the numbers we've got going on. Everything is really going well. Local TV, in too many cases, can't say that because they just can't be straight with the folks and at least have the conversation, right? That's all I'm saying. You could be the biggest fan. You could call up right now and say, this is awesome. I can't wait for it. That's great. We're here for you. But no one even wants to wonder, okay, was this worth the cost? What are we expecting to be the wins out of this for Kansas City? Will it just be another loss leader that the city has to foot the bill for that doesn't actually create major economic impacts? Or is the city also just forcing economic development in the certain parts of the city that people may not want to be in? And then will they incentivize business to go to these parts of the city that people may not want to be in? All these conversations are worth having. Oh, they're loving this. You know that, and I know that. 7:05. It is great to be here on a Friday on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. So you get Trump beefing with the cattle ranchers, no pun intended. See what it did there. And the media just eats it up, right? Why? Well, because they can pit, theoretically, Trump's diehard base of cattle ranchers against the president of the United States. This after Trump has made a topic of beef prices this week. Of course, he suggested earlier this week that maybe they'll import some beef from Argentina to help bring down the price of beef at the grocery store, which has a major impact on obviously every single American. And then the other part of it is the president putting out a post this week where he suggested the cattle ranchers got to thank me. They're doing great. They're doing awesome because of the tariffs. And I'm just also trying to bring down prices for the consumer. And I've got to care about that as well, not just how much money cattle ranchers are making right now. So it created this perfect storm where you have folks in the media who could say, they're salivating at the idea of pitting the cattle rancher against Trump. And we told you 2 days ago that this was coming, and that's why I wanted to take your calls on this at 913-408-7957, because I knew we had a great base and listenership of farmers and ranchers who listen to the show, who also obviously overwhelmingly voted for Trump, who would be able to provide some insight as to what's really going on here. So then local media goes out, and they do a couple of packages on this. You had Woke 41, you had Channel 9 KMBC, and of course, they want to find the rancher who's willing to trash Trump. Now, I've said I think the president made a mistake here this week. I was very clear on that. His post about how my tariffs are making the ranchers rich, well, no, supply and demand is making the rancher rich right now. The herd's at its lowest level in 50-plus years. You have issues with disease with the cattle in Mexico. You have small shops and small ranchers closing up shop left and right around the country, including in Kansas and Missouri. So in many ways, this all predates this administration. It's just gotten worse over the last few months. And it has nothing to do, for the most part, with tariffs. That being said, on this show, we can have that nuanced conversation. And you can call in and you can share your expertise. On TV, they just want to get the soundbite of the rancher being like, yeah, Trump's wrong. And they're going to be like, oh, you see, it's all about building a broader narrative. That's what it's about, like this from 41.
But President Trump announcing he's considering importing more Argentine beef to provide relief to consumer wallets.
I've supported President Trump 100%, but this I disagree with him on.
On Tuesday, posting on Truth Social, the president taking credit for the surging beef market, criticizing ranchers to bring their prices down.
It feels like a slap in the face to us, to try to bring our prices down when we're finally making money and surviving.
But ranchers don't dictate the market price. There's numerous players. And the USDA rolled out a new plan this week promoting the beef industry, including goals to improve ranching business, expanding processing, consumer transparency and market access, and building demand and domestic supply. But years of financial hardship has dwindled cattle operator numbers.
Come out with some programs that are more beneficial to them and support our youth in agriculture so that they can get in.
As the industry searches for solutions, K-State ag economists aren't seeing any in South America.
The quantity, the magnitude, to expect a huge impact isn't there.
And it could be a few years to increase U.S. cow herds.
Everybody is wanting to add cattle to their herd, and they are slowly. I don't think we ever will get back to where we once was.
So all of that from 41 is stuff we've talked about and told you about over the last couple of days, which is this is a multi-year process to get the herd numbers back up to where they have to be. And as I talked to a cattle rancher in central Kansas the other day privately, he's like, they can bring in the beef from Argentina, but it's not going to have a major impact on the bottom line price for the consumer. It will make maybe a small dent, but it's not going to be a big dent at all. There's no way that's going to be the case. But you hear the general theme of the package, and you would take out of that, oh, man, the ranchers might be turning on Trump in Kansas and Missouri. Look at this package on KSHB. No, this is like when you get into an argument with your spouse. It doesn't mean you're getting divorced. It just means you're having a little scuffle. You're getting into an argument. You disagree on this. If the underlying theme is, oh, boy, what's this mean? The rancher has turned on Donald Trump. Oh, my goodness, we're weeks away from a midterm year. This is going to get ugly. No, it's not. It's an inter-family debate and disagreement. That's what it is. That's it. And let's be honest, the rancher's going to continue to do very well in this economy right now because you can't get supply up overnight. Argentinian beef is not going to do it overnight. There's not enough there to rapidly decrease the price. Frankly, I think this is an example of the president acknowledging he's got to fix a problem, not really knowing what the short-term answer is, but at least making it appear like he's on it. He's taking care of it. And you heard more of the same from Channel 9, KMBC.
If you want to build American ranchers, we need to build the cow herd back in America. We need more supply here to meet our demand.
Jack Geiger agrees. A cattle rancher in northeast Kansas and Brown County, Jack calls the president's potential beef deal with Argentina naked market manipulation. President Trump also said his tariffs on cattle from Brazil have helped American ranchers.
It's factually incorrect, it's ill-informed, and it's just wrong. The beef prices have been predating his presidency.
Well, that's true. What that guy's saying is true. The prices of beef have predated his presidency. But I also would disagree with that rancher when he says importing beef from Argentina is somehow market manipulation. It's not market manipulation to say I've got to figure out a way to increase supply to maybe lower the price a hair for the consumer in the grocery store. That's not market manipulation. I mean, global trade's been going on for decades now at this point. That's not manipulating anything. That's an unfair statement to make about what the president proposed a few days ago. You could argue it's market manipulation if ranchers don't try to increase their supply. That's also an unfair statement to make. They're all doing well right now, and we've heard from many of you on this over the last couple of days. But, it's no fault of their own. They're doing great because of issues largely out of their control. Worms in Mexico, droughts over the last few years, farmers being incentivized to, farm and grow things like soybeans instead of cattle, and cattle obviously being at record lows in terms of supply. All those things play a much bigger factor in how we got here than tariffs, and the importing of Argentinian beef is really not going to have a major impact. So just let it be. I mean, they're going to do great. It's going to be okay, and it's probably going to be okay for several years for the cattle rancher. But I really think what this is about when it gets covered locally on whether it's 9 or 41 or 5 or any of them, it's trying to drive a wedge between what has been a core constituency of Donald Trump's, 3 runs for office and the president himself. Rather than saying, what does this actually mean? What are the farmers thinking? And is there more here than meets the eye? And that's what you have done as the caller and the rancher on this show over the last couple of days, far better than what you've actually heard from local TV. 7:14 on a Friday morning on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Bottom of the hour, we'll have an update for you on where things stand with the Royals in particular and the Chiefs to a lesser extent. That is 20 minutes away here on KCMO. But a feel-good Friday story. I love this. When you have folks in the community here in Kansas City taking a tragedy and turning it into a good. I'll give you that coming up next on KCMO. Oh, you got to feel good about this on a Friday. Not Bill O'Reilly's World Series pick where he's going with the Blue Jays, the underdog Blue Jays over the Dodgers. But this was a real tragedy that we told you about last week, and it's being turned into a good thing. And people are taking control of a dangerous situation here in Kansas City outside of Ingalls Elementary School. This was something that, it's just terrible what happened. But you have a young girl, 9 years old, who ends up getting killed. Hazen Workman Duffy lost her life, and she was just riding her bike to school, Ingalls Elementary, at the intersection of Longview Road and Food Lane. So what is going on now? You have grandpas who are standing out at the intersection who are helping kids cross the street. Not just kids, but anybody. They're basically playing crossing guard, but they're not officially crossing guards. They've got their big vests on. They're making sure they stand out, and they're helping kids get to that school. And this is the kind of stuff you love to see. I guess they're vigilante crossing guards. I don't know, whatever you want to call them. But I love this.
Over the last couple of days, George Lara has spent hours of his day at this intersection.
A lighthouse. That one boat that needs us, we're going to be here.
This is where 9-year-old Hazen Workman Duffy lost her life. The reminders of that tragedy lie in this memorial.
Cannot happen again.
Oh, yeah. People don't pay attention.
See, if we're not here, he wouldn't have stopped.
When I heard about what happened, it touched my heart.
George was joined by another volunteer this week.
We may have saved a life today.
If I wouldn't have been here, would that, could there have been another accident?
The intersection is near Ingalls Elementary, where Hazen was heading that day. But she didn't make it. A van hit and killed her while she rode her bike in the crosswalk.
Like you can kind of walk through the halls and you can feel the heaviness in the school.
Willie Spencer works at the school.
That it is something positive out of a dark time.
That's the kind of stuff you love to see. A community rallying around a tragedy. A bunch of grandpas saying, you know what, I'll go play crossing guard. I'll stand out there for the kids. I'll do what needs to be done. I'll make sure drivers aren't acting like dopes at this intersection, especially during school hours. And you know what? They might have saved multiple lives in the last couple of days. Who knows? But I'm here for it, man. That's doing good work around Kansas City. And those grandpas, man, they deserve a round of applause. So good job on those guys. Well done. And I'll give them plenty of props as they get out there on a Friday morning. Probably some rain out there. It's easy to do yesterday when it's like 50 degrees, nice crisp fall day. But these guys, I got to imagine they'll be out there in the rain and the snow, and they're going to be doing good work just to help out the kids in their neighborhood.
Try out the new Carhartt.
Yeah. A good reason to get out and about. That's great. I'm going to do that. When I'm old and retired and this thing is long in my rearview mirror, I'll just stand out there and help the kids cross the street. I think that's great. I love it. Now, in the meantime, the big story this morning that broke right around this time yesterday was the gambling scandal in the NBA. You have Terry Rozier making $25 million a year, having apparently friends that he's in on it with bet the under on his player props to cash in $200,000. You've got allegations now of Chauncey Billups, who made $100 million over his career, now as a head coach for the Portland Trailblazers, involved with the mafia, allegedly, and basically scamming players during poker games. It's turned into an absolute utter mess. And you may remember the name Tim Donaghy. He was the referee involved in a gambling controversy. He was apparently fixing games during his time as an official in the NBA. The NBA has had this kind of cloud of mafia gambling ties involved in that league, more so than the NFL and more so than Major League Baseball for a very long time. Tim Donaghy goes on News Nation last night, and he says that, well, this may be the tip of the iceberg, and keep your eye on college, which is how I started off the show this morning.
I think this is just the tip of the iceberg, like you said earlier, and I think you're going to see maybe more of a bigger scandal coming out of the college level, because you have these young athletes that aren't going to make it to the next level, and somebody's going to offer them money to maybe fix a game and only win by 12 rather than 15, and they're going to take that money because they're going to need a way to support their family. So I think it's just the tip of the iceberg in many different ways.
He's not wrong. And it's why when I started the show this morning at 6, I said this needs to end immediately at the college level. Mark said that in Iowa you cannot place player prop bets for college athletes, and that makes sense. You can, though, in Kansas, just so I'm understanding, right, Mark?
Yes, you can. You can only do the overs, though. You can't do unders on player props.
Okay, for
Kansas.
college.
Yeah, for college.
But you can for pros.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, you got to take this stuff all off the board at the college level. If NBA players making $25 million a year are doing this, you're telling me college kids can't be influenced? With their families and their handlers all looking to make a buck? This is a potential disaster in the making for sports betting, college sports, and professional sports.